11:47 a.m. Terminal 6, LAX Airport. Sarah Mitchell, standing in the Starbucks line, scrolling through her phone, planning her first real vacation in 3 years. Coffee order, iced vanilla latte. Vacation destination, Maui. Threat assessment, 0. Rashid Al-Farsi, bathroom near gate 64, assembling components in a locked stall. Heart rate, 142 beats per minute. Explosive device, 73% complete. Detection probability, calculating as 0. Target time, 12:05 p.m., 11:52 a.m. Sarah, receiving her coffee, finding a seat by the window, watching planes take off. She pulled out a pink romance novel from her bag. Page 47, reading about a hero saving the day, not knowing she was about to become one. Rashid, exiting the bathroom, linking up with the other three through brief eye contact. No words needed. Years of planning. 18 minutes until execution. Security completely unaware. 11:57 a.m. Sarah. Notice something. A man's shoes. Wrong for summer travel. Too heavy. Military-style boots under civilian jeans. Her combat instinct whispered, check. But she was on vacation. She forced herself to look away. Almost succeeded. 12 p.m. Rashid in his cell, moving into position. 4 points. Maximum casualties. Synchronized watches. 5 minutes until detonation. The airport continued its normal chaos. 15,000 people. None of them knew, except one woman with a romance novel, who just put it down and started counting exits. Captain Sarah Mitchell walked through the security checkpoint at Los Angeles International Airport wearing flip-flops, yoga pants, and a faded UCLA sweatshirt. Her long blonde hair hung loose around her shoulders, no regulation bun today. A pink rolling suitcase followed behind her, covered in beach-themed stickers. To the TSA agents and thousands of travelers surrounding her, she looked like any other 29-year-old woman heading to Hawaii for vacation. Nobody noticed the way her eyes automatically tracked exit points. Nobody saw how she positioned herself to observe the entire terminal. And absolutely nobody knew that the woman fumbling with her boarding pass was an F-16 fighter pilot with 147 combat missions in training that made Navy SEALs look like Boy Scouts. In exactly 18 minutes, that would change. In 18 minutes, 4 men with explosives would make the biggest mistake of their lives, and LAX would witness something that security cameras would replay for years to come. Sarah stood in the Starbucks line, taking a deep breath. Be normal, she whispered to herself. You're on vacation, not at war. But being normal was harder than pulling 9 Gs in a fighter jet. Her therapist at Edwards Air Force Base had been very clear. You need to turn off the combat mindset, Sarah. You're in California, not Afghanistan. Not everyone is a threat. You need to relax. However, relaxing was a theoretical concept for someone who had served continuously for 18 months. Iced vanilla latte for Sarah, the barista called. Sarah grabbed her coffee and found a seat. She pulled out the romance novel her sister had given her. Read this, her sister had said. It's about a woman who doesn't overanalyze everything. Message received. On page 47, her eyes left the book. Not because she wanted to look, because her combat brain had registered something wrong. Just like an F-16's threat detection system doesn't ask permission before sounding an alarm. 4 men, different locations, same micro-movements, same weight distribution in their jackets, same pattern of avoiding security cameras while pretending not to. You're paranoid, she told herself. They're just travelers. But her hand had already set down the coffee. Her posture had already shifted. Her breathing had already gone tactical. Because the last time she ignored her instincts, 2 Marines died. She wouldn't make that mistake again. Sarah watched the 4 men while making rapid calculations in her mind. She knew Terminal 6's layout. She'd flown through here 3 times last year. Exit points, 14 visible, 3 partially concealed. Security presence, adequate but distributed. Crowd density, high, escape routes limited. 4 men. Coordinated movement, synchronized glances at 12:05. This wasn't coincidence. Sarah pulled out her phone and typed a quick message. But to whom? Police? Would she say, "Hello, I think 4 men look suspicious"? It would be seen as a vacationing woman's paranoia. No, she needed to be sure first. She stood up, took her coffee, and moved as if heading to the restroom. But her route would take her past one of the 4 men. The first man was sitting on a bench near gate 64, in front of a laptop but not looking at the screen. His eyes were searching for the others at the far end of the terminal. As Sarah approached him, she analyzed the profile of his jacket. Weight, wrong balance, something on the left side. And then she caught the smell. Very faint, but for someone who had served 18 months in the Middle East, it was an unforgettable smell. RDX-based explosive. Swedish, chemical. Sarah's heart raced, but her facial expression didn't change. She continued walking, brought her phone to her ear as if making a call. "Yes, Mom, I just got through security," she said loudly to the empty line. "Flight's at 12:30. Yes, to Maui. Okay, I'll call when I get there." But her fingers were doing something different, dialing LAX security emergency line. The second man was standing near Starbucks, not ordering coffee, just waiting, hand in pocket, too tight, too tense. As Sarah passed him, she saw the angle of his arm. The thing in his pocket was small, rectangular, could be a trigger. The phone connected. "LAX security, how can I help you?" "Yes, hello." Sarah spoke in a casual voice, as if leaving a message for family. "I'm in Terminal 6, and I think there's a situation." "What kind of situation, ma'am?" 4 males, coordinated, explosive profile, RDX smell, synchronized to 12:05, estimated 12 minutes. The voice on the other end changed, no longer routine. "Ma'am, can you tell me who you are?" "Captain Sarah Mitchell, United States Air Force, security clearance top secret, certificate number Alpha 739er Tango. This is real, and you have 11 minutes. Maintain your position, Captain. Team is en route." "No," Sarah said quietly. "You don't have 11 minutes. If you start evacuating them now, panic breaks out and they'll trigger. Give me 5 minutes to maintain calm, then move." "Captain, procedure will result in 15,000 dead people. Trust me, I've done this." A pause. Then, "You have 5 minutes." Sarah hung up and formulated her plan. 4 targets, 10 minutes, a civilian airport, 0 weapons, 0 backup, just training, instinct, and a beach bag. This was the worst mission she'd ever taken. 12 p.m. Sarah approached the third man. This man was reading a magazine in Hudson News, or pretending to read. The pages hadn't turned in 10 minutes. Sarah entered the store, browsing the shelves as if looking for snacks. But her peripheral vision was on the man. And then she saw it, a thin wire emerging from under the man's jacket. Very similar to headphone wire, but at the wrong angle, wrong thickness, detonator wire. Sarah picked up a chocolate bar and approached the register. Her route would take her directly behind the man. As she passed, she accidentally bumped his shoulder. "Oh, I'm so sorry," she said in a bright voice. The man turned reflexively, annoyed, and Sarah saw in that instant the profile on the front of his jacket. 2 of them, one on the right side of his chest, the other on the left, symmetrical, planned, suicide vest. Sarah kept smiling. "Really sorry, I was looking at my phone. Tourists, right?" Then she walked away, heart pounding in her chest, but face calm. The 4th man was the most dangerous, near gate 67, sitting in the rest area. Unlike the others, he appeared completely calm, reading newspaper, drinking coffee. But his eyes were moving, constantly, checking the other 3. The coordinator. Sarah sat behind a bench, outside direct line of sight, but where she could watch him. She pulled out her phone, acted like taking a selfie, but actually photographed the man, then relayed the message to security. 4 targets confirmed, 3 suicide vests, 1 coordinator, near gate 67, all synchronized to 12:05. If my beach bag moves at chest height, do not go. If it drops to the ground, shut everything down. Response came. Evacuation starting, 4 minutes. Sarah took a deep breath. 4 minutes wasn't enough to evacuate 11,000 people, but it was the best they could do without creating panic. Now her job was to make sure the 4 men didn't detonate by 12:01 p.m. Sarah stood up and approached the coordinator. The plan was simple: attract attention, disrupt timing, read reactions, adapt. But first, she needed something. She went back to Hudson News and bought a lighter, then went to the cleaning station and squirted hand sanitizer on her hands. Alcohol-based, flammable tools, limited but sufficient. She approached the coordinator with her brightest vacation smile. "Excuse me, is the flight to Maui from this gate?" The man looked up, slightly annoyed. "No." "Oh my God, I'm so lost. I always mix up these terminals. Do you fly from here often?" The man frowned, wanted to get rid of her. "No, now excuse me. Wait, what time is it?" Sarah reached out her hand to lightly touch the man's wrist where his watch was. In that moment of contact, she felt everything. Pulse, high, sweat, excessive, muscle tension, extreme. This man wasn't wearing explosives, but he was the leader, and very, very tense. 12:02, the man said sharply, pulling his arm back. "Thanks, I thought I was going to miss my flight," Sarah chirped and walked away. But now she knew. Clock tactics wouldn't work. They were too trained, too determined. Plan B was needed. 12:03 p.m. The terminal PA system came on. "Ladies and gentlemen, attention all passengers in Terminal 6. Due to a routine security drill, please calmly proceed toward the west end of the terminal. This is a drill. Please do not panic." The crowd began to murmur. People looked at each other. Some started moving. Others remained seated. Chaos was controlled but slow. Too slow. Sarah watched the 4 men's reactions. One of the vested men stood up. He was panicking. His hand went to his jacket. He looked at the coordinator. The coordinator shook his head slightly. Not yet. But his hand went to his phone, typing a message. Probably, "We're detected. Plan B." Sarah's mind raced. Plan B probably meant detonate now. She had 2 minutes. 2 minutes for everyone in the terminal. Sarah slung her beach bag over her shoulder and moved. First target, the vested man at Hudson News, the most panicked-looking, the most unstable. Sarah walked toward him, on her phone as if crying in someone's arms. "Mom, I told you I'm leaving. No, listen to me. Okay, you know what? I'm coming home now." As she passed the vested man, she stumbled directly into him. "Oh my God, I'm so sorry." The coffee cup spilled on him, on his chest, his jacket. The man roared, pushed her back. "What are you doing?" "I'm so sorry, so sorry." Sarah pulled out napkins from her bag, frantically trying to dry him. But what she was really doing, feeling the vest's wires, understanding the configuration, finding the triggering mechanism, push button, left pocket, manual detonation. "Get off!" The man pushed her. Sarah stumbled back, tears in her eyes. "I'm sorry. It's been a stressful day." She walked away before security came. But now she knew. That man was 1 button press away. And the button was in his left pocket. 12:04 p.m. 1 minute. Sarah ran to the bathroom, pulled out the hand sanitizer bottle, emptied it onto the inside of her shirt sleeve, then pulled out the lighter. When she came out, the 4 men were now changing positions. The terminal was evacuating, but not fast enough. There were still thousands of people, and the men weren't waiting anymore. The coordinator stood up, looked at his phone, then nodded. Now. The Hudson newsman's hand went to his pocket. Sarah ran. It was the fastest 20 meters she'd ever run in her life. Beach flip-flops slapping the floor, beach bag swinging. But every step was calculated. 5 meters. The man's fingers found the button, 3 meters. He pressed the button. Sarah's arm swung. The alcohol-soaked sleeve fabric hit the man's face. At the same instant, the lighter sparked. Whoosh! Flames erupted. The sleeve caught fire. The man screamed, covered his face, stumbled backward. The button was released. Half a second before the explosive could complete its sequence. Chaos exploded. People screamed. Security ran. The coordinator jumped up, and Sarah was on him. 18 months of Krav Maga, Hapkido, and combat training had become muscle memory. The coordinator's hand reaching for his weapon met Sarah's block. Then elbow strike to his solar plexus, then leg sweep sending him to the ground. 3 seconds. He was down and unconscious, but the other two were still standing. The Starbucks man was running, not toward Sarah, toward the crowd. He needed a tight space for manual detonation. Sarah caught up with him, threw her beach bag at his head. He stumbled. She hit him with a heavy tackle. Both went down. They fought on the ground. But this was new territory for Sarah. In 147 combat missions, her ground combat instructor had told them, air superiority is everything. But on the ground, use everything. Because there are no rules. Sarah's teeth went to the man's ear. Bite. Hard. The man screamed, lost control. Sarah's hand went into his pocket, found the button, pulled. Wire snapped, circuit broken, 2 down. But the original vested man, despite his burning sleeve, had gotten up, and he was running toward the gun where the coordinator had fallen. Sarah couldn't get ahead of him, but she could throw. The lighter, she threw it. Perfect arc. Hit the man's still alcohol-soaked jacket. Flames ignited again. The man screamed, struggling to remove his jacket. The vest was exposed. Security drew weapons. Get down! Get down now! The man froze, hands raised, vest still active but not triggered. 3 down. Sarah spun around. Where was the 4th? And then she saw him, running toward the bathrooms. Maybe more explosives, maybe backup plan. Sarah ran after him. The bathrooms were empty, evacuated. But there was a sound in the last stall. Quick movement, gathering things. Sarah approached the door. Locked. Security! Open the door! No answer, but a click from inside the stall. Gun cocking. Sarah stepped back. Bathroom stall won't stop gunfire. But you know what stops it? Surprise. Sarah lay on the floor, looked under the stall. Foot. Right side. Weight improperly balanced. Gun in right hand. Sarah reached with her hands, grabbed the ankle, pulled. Hard. The man fell. Gun hit hard floor, fired. Bullet ricocheted off ceiling. Sarah slid her whole body under from below, hip through the gap under the door, then kicked upward. Kicked the door lock. Popped open. Lunged at the door. As the man rolled inside, struggling for his weapon, Sarah got there first, grabbed the gun, used a twist. Man's fingers broke. Gun released. Sarah cleared it, secured it, put on safety. Then kicked back at the man, hard. Don't move! Move and I'll do the worst things to you in this bathroom stall that I've seen as a pilot. The man froze. 12:07 p.m. Security burst in, weapons drawn, hands up, everyone on the ground. Sarah put the gun down, raised her hands. Federal officer, Captain Sarah Mitchell, I briefed your security team 2 minutes ago. 4 targets secured. Terminal is clear. The security chief looked at his phone, then at Sarah, then at the floor, then back at Sarah. You're the woman in the flip-flops. Yes. You stopped 4 terrorists in flip-flops. Technically, 3 were suicide bombers, 1 coordinator, and the flip-flops are really comfortable. The chief couldn't decide whether to laugh or cry. Finally, he stepped forward, extended his hand. Captain, there were 15,000 people in this terminal. You saved all of them. Sarah shook his hand, then started shaking, adrenaline finally dropping. Can I sit down now? Because I think my legs are going. 12:45 p.m. Sarah sat in the security office wrapped in a shock blanket holding water. Outside, FBI, ATF, Homeland Security, all the alphabet agencies had invaded the terminal. Her commanding officer, Colonel James Reeves, was on video chat with a mixture of shock and pride on his face. Mitchell, the colonel said, I ordered you to take 2 weeks of vacation. I know, sir. Vacation means relaxing, resting, unwinding. I know, sir. Vacation does not mean taking down 4 terrorists. I know, sir. Sir, but frankly, in retrospect, it could have been a drill, because I really need to relax now. The colonel tried not to laugh, failed. All right, Mitchell, here are your new orders. For the next 2 weeks, you're officially on administrative leave. The Pentagon wants to debrief you. The FBI wants to interview, and the president wants to call you. Sarah groaned. Sir, can I just go to Maui, please? You can go to Maui, but with 2 Secret Service agents and a media handler, because Mitchell, you're a hero. I'm not a hero, sir. I'm just a pilot. No, the colonel said seriously. You're a soldier who did her duty, even in her most off moment, and that makes you the best kind of hero. 3 hours later, Sarah was finally allowed to escape the airport, but before leaving, she had to do one thing. She returned to Terminal 6, now empty and evacuated, wrapped in crime scene tape. Security let her in. She walked to Starbucks, to the bench where she had sat. The book was still there, open, bookmarked on page 47. She picked it up, dusted it off, then opened to page 48, after the hero saved the day. Huh, Sarah smiled. Should have had a spoiler warning. She closed the book and walked out. Maui was waiting, and this time she swore no terrorists would stop her. Probably. 2 weeks later, epilogue. Sarah sat on a Maui beach, cocktail in hand, sunglasses on, finally relaxed. Her phone rang, an unknown number. Captain Mitchell, this is CNN. We'd like to do an interview about your heroism at LAX. No interviews, thanks. She hung up. 5 minutes later it rang again. This time, the New York Times, then Washington Post, then Good Morning America. Sarah turned off her phone, then leaned back on the lounge chair and smiled. Be normal, they said. Relax, they said. She looked at a nearby tourist, a young woman reading a book. The woman looked at Sarah, did a double take. You're that woman from the airport. You're on the internet. Sarah lowered her sunglasses, smiled slightly. I think you have the wrong person. But, wrong person, just on vacation. The woman looked confused but nodded and walked away. Sarah put her glasses back on, sipped her drink, and looked at the horizon. Sometimes the best heroes are the ones who never were. And the best vacations? Always the ones that don't go as planned.